Dr. Mohammad Rafi, Associate Professor, Department of Cyber Security. Today I want to discuss about network programming and management subject here, in which the topic is a elementary UDP socket. Elementary, what is the elementary UDP socket? Elementary UDP socket, so it is nothing but which is the providing the interface between the two devices. Suppose here, if you take the client is a one device and server is a another device. So these elementary the protocol, elementary this the socket now which is provided at the both the side. At the client side now we are providing one UDP the socket, and server side also will provide the another the UDP socket. So these both the socket, both the side of the socket now which is the providing the communication. Now these are the socket, these are the elementary UDP the socket now which is working as a interface between the two networking applications. That means here the client has one network and the server has another network. So both are the client and server are the both are the different the applications. So now in between these the different applications now which is establishing the communication. Here the generally these are the UDP, these UDP socket now which is providing, which is acting as an interface. So interface is nothing but it is a mediator between the two other devices for establishing the effective communication. That means here now we are using the protocol, that is a user datagram protocol we are using. So these are the protocol now we can frame with a set of rules and regulations for transferring the information, from source to destination. From source to the destination, these are the protocols are framed with a set of rules and regulations, and these it can be offering the connectionless. Why? Because the user datagram or the protocol now which is nothing but the connectionless the protocol. With the connectionless now we can transfer the information from source to the destination and replay the information from destination to source. Here lightweight data or the transmissions. So the data transmission should be very lightweight. Very lightweight means here now which is transmitting within the limited time, within the limited the amount of time, the effectively we can transmitted. Here this UDP with these UDP the sockets, generally the developers mainly while developing the client side the applications or server side the application, generally the developers they can send and receiving the data packets without overhead of the establishing a continuous the connectivity between the two devices over the same network. These here over the same network now we are using here, but these elementary UDP the sockets now different the application, different the client applications. So you are using the over the between the network application, but when the application here the network is the same network, the applications are the different application. Here this client has number of application. This client has a number of application, and server also which is having the number of the application. So the server now which is requesting to client one of the application. Now the application can be responded to the server and that can be run. That means here this responding is nothing but the communication. So these are the communication now we are establishing with the help of the elementary protocols. With the help of the elementary protocol now, we can establish the other communication. That means here, so it is a continuous, the communication establishment. And here, if you see, making this idea in the real-time application. So generally, the real-time application is the best example for utilizing the UDP socket utilization is in online gaming. Generally, in online gaming now, we are utilizing the UDP socket. The elementary UDP socket can be utilizing. This elementary UDP socket now in online gaming, so which is the providing as the interface and effectively establish the online gaming and streaming media also, now we can utilize by using the elementary UDP sockets. Now effective communication can be established in streaming with help of the streaming media. If you see, elementary UDP sockets are basic building blocks for implementing the communication. Now generally it is by using these UDP sockets now we can implement the communication. The socket is in a sense the meaning of the socket means here these are the socket which is implementing the communication over the UDP protocol. That means over the user datagram protocol in a computer other networks. Computer networks are the same networks over the same network or over the different other networks. Now which is implementing the communication from one application to the another application. Here the application 1 to another the application 2. Now application 1 to application 2 which is implementing the other communication by using the elementary UDP sockets generally. So these are they allow the applications at the sender side and receiver side. Here these applications now at the sender side. That means here the sender now we can call it as a client. At the client side and at the server side. At the client side or at the server side, these the applications can be implemented. Here these applications that means send and receiving the datagrams. So which is receiving the data the grams, that means here we are using the data via the data link layer. That means the frames in the form of the other frames now these are the datagrams can be received and sent. So which are the self-contained units data. That means without establishing a connection between the sender and a receiver generally. Simply now these UDP sockets, take this UDP the socket at the client side and sender side. This UDP the socket at client side and the sender side. So which perform the whatever the required the task for the communication. So these socket now which is perform the task. That means here where low overhead and high speed are the which is having the higher other priorities, such as real time audio video streaming. These are best examples. Online gaming is another example, and network monitoring also it is a real time examples. Here this audio video streaming, online gaming and network the monitoring are the real time example. That means in these other applications now, in this application online gaming and a network monitoring and audio video streaming, now we are utilizing the these elementary UDP the sockets. By utilizing these elementary UDP the sockets now we can effectively establish the communication. Here is the objectives of the elementary UDP sockets now which has encompassed the several the goals. The goals are here main objective is it is a very UDP socket. If you take the UDP as a socket, now these are the UDP socket, it's a very simplicity. Simplicity means that means here now which is providing UDP is now we are utilizing generally as a interface. Now with this the simplicity now which is the providing the straightforward interface. Straightforward the interface. So with the help of this the straight the forward the interface now generally for developers to send and receiving the datagrams without the complexity of the connection establishment and maintenance. And efficiency. Efficiency that means here the efficiency now which is offers a lightweight the communication mechanism suitable for the real-time applications where minimizing overhead is a very crucial. That means here such as a multimedia streaming or online gaming. In this now we are minimizing the overhead. So these are all these communication mechanism which is suitable for the real-time applications or the online gaming and multimedia streaming. That is efficiency. And if we take the flexibility. So flexibility, what is the meaning of the flexibility? Flexibility means now that means which allow the transmission of data packets in a connectionless manner. That means here now flexibility which is data packets can be transferred. Here it is a system 1. That means a host 1. It is a host 1 and host other 2, host 3. The number of the multiple the host 1, host 2, host 3. Here, with this the facility, the flexibility, the facility now, data transmission can be done very efficiently. That means with this, which allowing the transmission of data packet in a connectionless manner. Here, the connection is not required to client 1 to client 2. Without requiring the connection here, now which is the transmitting the data the packets. The data packets can be transmitted here. Here also the data packets are the transmitted. Now here the data packet now will be transmitted from host 1 to the host 2, and here also with it in the wireless the communication now the data packets can be transmitted. Here also the data the packets can be transmitted. So this is the flexibility. Flexibility that means now which is enabling the communication between the devices. With this the data the transmission now which is communication can be effective, communication can be established. Here is and between these the devices without the constant of the continuous connection. Next speed. Here if you take next the objective is a speed. Speed means here data transmission the speed can here if we see which facilitating the very high speed the data the transmission by eliminating the connection setup and the acknowledgement mechanism inherent in a connection oriented protocols like TCP protocol. That means here TCP protocol by facilitating the TCP the protocol transmission control protocol. With this the transmission control protocol, this is a connection oriented protocol, and UDP protocol is a connection less protocol. It is a connection oriented protocol. Now with this connection oriented protocol, speed can be increased between the two other devices. That is a client 1 to client 2, client 3 to client number of the multiple other clients. Between these the client the speed can be the increases. Next here if we see the foundation. So here the foundation, if we take the client and the server as the foundational layer for building the more complex networking applications and the protocols. If you want to building the protocols or if you want to frame the protocols with a set of rules and regulations, now which is providing the fundamental tool for the network communication. For the network communication now which is providing the fundamental tool. Here these are the methodologies. If you see the methodologies for working with the elementary UDP sockets, generally which is consider it as the first initialization. Now, creating the UDP sockets by using the calls and socket library as the functions. Here, system calls. We are by utilizing the system calls or socket library as the functions. Now, we are initializing the communication between the two devices by the programming languages or frameworks we are utilizing. Generally, these are the steps now which is specifying the communication domain. Here, generally in a communication domain, we are utilizing the IPv4 and IPv6. That means Internet Protocol version 4 and Internet Protocol version 6. By using this the protocol, the communication can be generally, we can establish the effective communication. Socket type. Socket type means here that generally we are using the types are DZ, datagram sockets for UDP, and the protocols IP proto UDP. These are the socket other types can be utilized while communicating between the two other devices. Next, the objective is binding. Binding is most important in the communication by using the sockets. Here is the binding, that means now which is binding the sockets to a specific address and port number. Here is what it is doing now. If you see the one computer the system, okay, which is these are the computer the system which is having the specific address, which is having the specific address and port number. With help of this address and port number, now we can establish the communication. Generally, we can establish the communication by using the port number and address on a local missions. So here, if you are expecting the incoming datagram from the client or from the server, generally these the binding can be associated the socket with a specified address and port. With a specified address, each and every device having the address and port number. With help of this address and port number, now generally, so we can establish the other communication. Here, which allowing it to receiving the datagram sent to that particular address. Sending the data, now use the sockets send to or send the message to the function. Generally, by using the send to or send the message system calls, these by using these the function calls, now we can sending the messages. We can sending the information to one device to the another other device. So these datagrams can be sent from one host to the another other host. Specifically, here the destination address and port number along with the data to be sent. If we take the UDP, user datagram protocol, this user datagram protocol which doesn't give the guarantee packet delivery or order. Now if you, why? Because it is a connectionless. For example, here best example, now if you see mobile communication, mobile device the communication. In a mobile device the communication, now generally, so a mobile device it is a, so if you take the mobile device the communication from one mobile device to the another the mobile device, here now mobile device the communication, generally here this UDP doesn't give the guarantee, doesn't give the guarantee packet delivery or order from one mobile device to the another mobile device, one mobile device to another mobile device. Generally, this thing will be happened here. So the applications must handle the potential the packet loss or out of order the delivery. Next, receiving data. Next objective is receiving data. For receiving data, now we are using the receive message the function call and receive from other function call. Receive from, that means now which indicates here receive from means here which is saying that this is the function is saying that receiving the data from which device, and receive message. Receive message means here now receiving the messages from the which other device. What are the identification device? From which identification device now data can be received or data can be sent. So these receive from or receive message. These are the functions to receiving the incoming data grams from remote host, which is specify a buffer to store the received data along with the sender address and port. Process the received data accordingly. Here, optimal configurations. Optimal configurations. Optimal configuration, that means here configure the socket options such as timeout value and buffer sizes or multi settings which are needed for generally applications on client side applications or server side applications. Here with multicasting we have to set, and a buffer size also we require the buffer size. Based on this the buffer size now, that means now with this the buffer size, the content, the value, how much data you are storing in a buffer. Now we can say that, and a timeout value means here the speed, the performance with this the timeout here, timeout value, the performance can be increased. The performance can be increased, and the multi-casting, that means multicasting setting. How we are doing a multicasting setting means now from one server mission, generally in a multicast setting here from one server the mission, here the multiple the group of the devices here which has the some group of devices, and this one has another the group of devices. Now we are sending the information, we are sending the message or information to the group of other devices. If you send the information or message to the group of other devices, now we are saying it as a multicast setting. Like that, now we are setting the server and clients. That is a meaning of the multicast setting. As per these can be utilized as per the applications, as per the application requirements. Now that can be utilized. Error handling. Error handling means now implementing the error handling. So these error handling now to deal with the potential issues such as the network errors, socket failures, or data transmissions. Generally, when you can handle the errors, that means whenever the socket is the failure. So while transmitting the data from system 1, that means the client device to the server device. Now system 1 to the system 2. Here client side, so it is acting as a client and it is acting as a server. The client side has one other socket and server side has another other socket. Whenever here now which is socket is a failure. If it is socket is failure, with help of this socket only now we are sending the we are sending the data, or we are receiving the information from the server generally here. So this is a server. From the server, generally we are sending the data or receiving the information from the server. So each and every side now we can arrange the sockets. That is if you arrange the socket at client side, this socket now we are saying it as a client the socket, and if you arrange the socket at the server side, now we can say it as it is a server the socket. Here if it is socket is a failure, error handling, now we can implement the error handling and handles the error. What type of error is arised? So type of error now which can be identified. And a data transmission problem. Suppose if is there any data transmission is problem, when generally when data transmission problem is arises, generally here, and if the path, if effective path is not established, now then the data transmission problems will be arised, and handling the errors the gracefully to ensure the robustness of the applications. And cleanup. Cleanup, next objective is a cleanup. Cleanup means here which closing the sockets when it is no longer needed to releasing the system other resources and avoiding the resource leaks. Proper cleanup is essential for efficient resource management and system other stabilities. Generally, these are the cleanup the methodology which is the providing the framework for the working with the elementary UDP sockets, which allowing the developers to building the efficient and reliable network applications at both the client side and server side. The reliable networking applications can be provided by using the cleanup. So it is a very essential. This objective is a very essential for efficient resource management and system stability. Elementary UDP the protocols are these are all the foundation of the component of a network programming. Here, if we take the network the programming, this elementary UDP, that means user datagram protocols. These the sockets are very important thing for network programming. With these sockets, the programming only, the communication is the possible between the two devices. So general applications, common applications of the user datagram protocols are real-time the streaming. User datagram the protocol now which is used for real-time multimedia streaming, such as live video or audio streaming. So these are all the real-time streaming applications. Unlike TCP, which requires the establishing and maintaining a connections. UDP, which allows for fast data transmission, since it doesn't have the overhead of the connection setup and acknowledgement. If we see online gaming, so many of the online gamings which is developed by with help of the UDP the protocols for the communication between the game client to server the client. So game client to server, game client for communication purpose. So that is a online gaming. So that means in which what we are doing the low latency nature of the UDP, which makes it is suitable for the fast paced the gaming environment. So which timely updates are the very crucial. Next objective is a voice over the IP. Voice over the IP application now, which is like Skype, Discord, Zoom. So these are all the uses the UDP user datagram protocol for transmitting the voice data. While occasionally packet loss might occur, the real-time nature of the voice the communication now which is prioritized the speed and responsiveness over the perfect reliability. Here is DNS, domain name system. Domain name system now DNS which queries and responses are which offer transmitted using the UDP user datagram protocol. These domain name systems, these are the queries are typically very small. Very small. With help of this the domain name now we can send the information or messages over the UDP protocol without the need for the overhead of the establishing a TCP connections. Network monitoring. Network monitoring means here user datagram protocol can be used for network monitoring too, such as ping and trace route, where speed and efficiency are very important in a network the monitoring. Why? Because here with this the speed, now the time, the transparency, data transparency can be improved and the efficiency also the improved. That's why these two will be considered very the important factors. Now it will be considered in a network monitoring. These tools often rely on the UDP packet to quickly determine the network the connectivity, and which should be the identify the if is there any network issues. That network issues can be identified. So that is a network monitoring. Broadcasting multicasting. What is a broadcasting and multicasting? Broadcasting multicasting, now this UDP, we can utilize the UDP protocol. That is a user datagram or the protocol for broadcasting and multicasting. In broadcasting, how it is utilized and how it is the working, that means here sending a message to all devices on the network. And multicasting means here, so sending a message to specific group of devices. Here broadcasting, sending a message to all devices over the network. Now if you take, so this is a network. So in this the network, the multicasting, now what we are doing from the server mission, now whatever the client other devices are arranged over this other network, so we are sending the messages to all other clients, all devices over the network. So it is a device 1, device 2, device 3, to all devices. Now we are transmitting the other messages. So it is a multicasting, and it is a broadcasting. And multicasting means sending a message to a specific group of devices. So over the network, now if we see over the network from the server mission, what we are doing, spending the specific group of devices. So it is a one workstation, and this is another workstation, and this one is another workstation. So in this workstation, now we'll arrange the some group of other devices. Here it is a some group of the devices. Here also it is a some group of devices. Here also some group of devices. Here also some group of devices. Now the information can be sent to the group of specific group of devices. Now so it is a multicast. Here device 1, device 2, device 3. That means it is a specific. This device 1 is a specific device. So that's why the information can be sent to the specific device, the one. Whatever the device is a specified, specialized. So for that the device, now we can send the information. Here is these the applicabilities are very useful for the applications like the multimedia streaming, online gaming, and network simulations. Next, if you see simple client server communication. So for simple client server, the applications, any applications at server side or client side, the applications where reliability is not the critical, such as simple messaging applications or data retrieval from a server UDP. So can be the lightweighted alternative to the TCP transmission control protocol. Network the prototyping and testing. Network the prototyping and the testing. What we are doing, UDP, user datagram the protocol is often used in a network the prototyping and testing due to its simplicity and easy of the users. So the developers can quickly create and test the network of the applications so without the overhead of the TCP connection management. So this is about the network of the prototyping and the testing. Distributed systems. Distributed systems generally here where nodes are the computers. So which needs to communicate with the each other. So UDP, that means distributed, the system, the data will be distributed among the devices. Here user datagram, elementary user datagram of the socket here, these can be used for inter-node communication. Inter-node communication, that means inter-node, intra-node. Generally two types of this communication. So intra-node means here within these the system, within these the devices. Suppose if it is a device 1, so within this node, this device 1 will be acting as a node. If you establish transparency done within this the device, now we are say it as a intra-node communication. For example, now personal computer. In a personal computer, what we are doing here, it is connected to CPU and keyboard, which is connected to CPU and a keyboard. Here, the data. Now, what we are doing, intra-node communication. Intra-node communication means now, if you use the print. Now, if you use the print here, via this the printer now, via this the printer now, from the system, what we are doing, we are giving the signals for printing. We are giving the signals. We are giving the signals for printing the message. Some message or some application oriented message, we are giving the signals. Now immediately these signals now will be transmitted. That means the communication is happening, transmitted from the CPU to the printer. That means that this is considered as a one node. Within this node, if we establish the communication within this node here, now we are saying it as a inter-node communication. So different other systems in between these different over the LAN or MAN, by using the local area network or MAN here. If you establish the communication between the two different other devices here, now we can say it as a inter-node communication. So this node is a one device which is working over one network, which is working on one network. So it is another other device which is working on another network. These two are working two different networks. So that is a inter-node communication. Here in this internet node communication, while it lack of some of the reliabilities, the features of the TCP, UDP, the simplicity and speed which makes it suitable for the certain distributed applications. These are just the few examples of the many applications of the elementary UDP sockets. Here is UDP. Now it is an essential protocol for various type of the real-time and low latency communications. Low latency communications and real-time. So it is a very essential the protocol for various type of the real-time and low latency communications. Elementary UDP, the sockets now, while simply to implement, come with their own set of the advantages and disadvantages. If we take the advantages are low overhead. Here the UDP sockets which is having the lower overhead, now which is comparing with the TCP sockets, because they don't require the connection establishment or not require the acknowledgement management. So that's why, so which make them very fast, the communication between the two devices, and more efficient for applications where the speed is the critical. So that is a low overhead and a connection less the protocol. UDP, it's a connectionless protocol, user datagram protocol, meaning that means here there is no need to establish a connection between the two devices before sending the data. That means mobile, best example is the connection protocol. Best example is mobile communication. Mobile communication is a best example for the connectionless the protocols. Here this make it is very suitable for the applications where real-time the communication is necessary, such as streaming media or online other gaming, broadcasting or multicasting. Here is broadcasting and multicasting. UDP now which is supports the broadcasting and multicasting. User datagram protocol which is supporting the broadcasting and multicasting. Now which allowing the single packet to be sent to the multiple other recipient simultaneously. Here is this the feature is useful for the applications like video streaming and online gaming. Simplicity. Simplicity means it is a very simplicity. This elementary UDP socket is a very simplicity. That means it is very straightforward to use the and understanding. and making them idea for applications that requires the simplicity and minimal the overhead. Disadvantages. Disadvantages means here it is unreliable. UDP, user datagram protocol, is a unreliable protocol because it doesn't guarantee to deliver or order of the packets. Why? Because here it's a connectionless. If any the connection is lost, if any socket is a failure, so it doesn't give the guarantee deliverable of the data. That's why now we are saying it is a unreliable. This can result in a lost or out of the order the packets, which may requires the error handling mechanism in the application layer. So that's why now we are saying it is a unreliable. Here is the no flow control. There is no flow of the control between the other devices. So this is a disadvantage. UDP doesn't provide the flow control mechanism like the TCP. In TCP now, if we take the TCP transmission the control mechanism, this is the protocol now. Here now which is providing the flow control between the two devices. So there is no way through that means that the data are sending or receiving, and this can lead the network congestions and pocket loss in a high traffic scenario. Generally, no flow control. If it is flowing here, if you are sending the information from device 1 to device 2, the continuously the data are flowing. There is, if you suppose if it is, there is no other control. There is no other control before reaching the data to the device 2. If you send the data from device 1, isn't it? So generally, if you send the data like this, the congestion will be arises. The congestion, that is with this the traffic, the congestions are the packets also will be lost in a high the traffic scenario. That is no error the checking. No error checking, that is UDP, user datagram or the protocol, does not perform the error checking or retransmissions of the lost packet. Leaving it up to the application layer now, which is handle these issues if it is the necessary. So which add the complexity to the application code and may require the implementing custom error handling mechanism. So that is a no error checking. And next, limited support for the large packets. Now, if you are transmitting the packets, large number of the bulk amount of the packets now from client to the server. For example, if you are transmitting the bulk amount of the packets, bulk amount of the data packets, now which is supported limited support. This is UDP, elementary UDP, which is having the limited support. This UDP has the maximum packet size of the 64,507 bytes, which is including the header. While this is a very sufficient for the most of the applications, it may be insufficient for transferring the large amount of the data efficiently. So it is not suitable for all applications. Whatever the applications now you are utilizing at client side or server side, so it is not suitable. Due to its unreliable nature, user datagram protocol is not suitable for the applications that requires the guaranteed delivery, such as file transfers or web browsing, unless the additional mechanisms are implemented at the application layer, which is ensures the reliability. These elementary UDP sockets now, which is offers the very simplicity and low cost overhead, but lack of reliability and some of the advanced features which is provided by the TCP. Here generally it is suitable for the applications where speed and real-time the communications are more important than guaranteed the delivery and order of the packets. UDP, user datagram or the packets now, which is offering the lightweighted, the connectionless communication methods suitable for the real-time applications like gaming, streaming. While lacking TCP reliability features, UDP simplicity and low overhead, which is make it's a valuable tool for the scenario prioritizing the speed over the reliability. Understanding its usage in broadcast, multicast, and in its programming essential. So it is a very the effective implementation. These UDP, elementary UDP at the socket now, which fills a niche in a networking and providing very fast and efficient option for specific type of the applications. So reference textbooks, these two are the textbooks. So Unix network programming, network management, the principles and practices, and internetworking with TCP, IP, and SNMP, SNMP2, William and Styling. These are all the web references. So this is about the elementary UDP sockets.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.